Final project, spiritual formation, instructor John Pollock, Priscilla Clayton student. The biggest problem that I had with this class was the spiritual formation journal. I have not been able to journal. I have never been able to journal more than 1 or 2 days at a time, and that was particularly if something was stressful or something was um, going on in my life. So I've never been able to journal. I've never been able um, to take notes in classroom settings. I have got my college degree um, with a 4.0 without ever having to take notes. I am an audible learner. Most of the time when I read, I don't read, I listen to the books. Um, I am a very audible learner. So that was a very difficult assignment for me. There were few occasions where I did copy down a few poignant notes so that I might be able to have some input in the discussion. But the journaling itself was never successful. Sorry. But I did get some things out of the class. I mean, most of the disciplines were disciplines that I had already had in my life because I have been a Christian for so long. I had learned the discipline of fasting. There was a time in my life when I could fast on nothing but water for 40 days. There was a time when I would fast, with the church for 7 days. So fasting was not a problem for me. There'd actually been times in my life when the church asked me not to fast from food, but to find other things to fast from because I lost weight so quickly. And if you've seen me, you know I don't have weight to lose. I've had experiences with the discipline of study. I have had with the discipline of prayer. I used to have a very rigorous prayer life. I am now trying to get back into the rhythm of a regular prayer life. Scripture and prayer in the morning, scripture and prayer in the evening, and sometimes scripture and prayer in the middle of the day. I have an alarm on my phone that reminds me to do the scripture and the prayer um, in the middle of the day. And sometimes that's possible and sometimes that's not possible. So most of the disciplines that were in the book, I had some experience with the discipline. The discipline that I found the most, I guess, exhilarating was the discipline of guidance because I don't know that the churches that I grew up in really used that discipline, the discipline of guidance. They really um, honed in on that. If someone said they were called to the ministry, that was it. They were called, and they went ahead and they licensed them and they preached. Most times they didn't go through any training. Um, they didn't go through any ceremony. They allowed them to preach their initial sermon, and that was it. They were preachers. Um, if people said that they were called to be an apostle, um, one, we didn't have apostles in the Baptist church, but if they said they were called to be a pastor, there was still very little training, very little requirements. They were allowed to look for a church to pastor, or they were allowed to begin to pastor a church in their home. So the discipline of guidance and the testing of the call was really, it was foreign to me, but it was very intriguing to me. So that was the place where I really got a lot of guidance and a lot of understanding. The testing of the call, where people would say that they were called, and the congregation would come together in prayer and fasting, or the elders of the church would come together in prayer and fasting to say whether or not this was a genuine call. Because there were times when people could get, and I've seen it in my own life, where people could get excited about the word and they wanted to, you know, witness to the word and they wanted to preach the word, but that was not the calling that God had extended to them. Um, the pastoral was not the calling, you know. A lot of times in my life and in my past church history, that if you could hoop and holler, you were a pastor. It was not required for you to do the amount of reflection, inner reflection, and sitting before God and sitting with the scriptures that I now understand is necessary. It is vital to a healthy ministry, that it is the only way to do ministry healthy is to go through the several disciplines. And not that the disciplines are like a one, two, three type thing, but to travel through the disciplines and, adding one on top of another and then going back to one, to reinforce what you heard from the Lord, or to reinforce what the Spirit was saying. Um, to have that inner reflection and to deal with your own demons. Um, to be a healthy preacher or pastor, it really does require you not to be a perfect person, but to be a healthy person, a person who is aware of themselves. They are aware of their shortcomings. They are aware of their skeletons, or they're aware of um, their things that like poke them, that irritate them, or things that kind of get under their skin. So this class, even though I did not do a lot of the journaling, I think I did a lot of introspection and listening in class and to the Spirit. And for me, that is the way that I process um, things of the Spirit. And this class was good for me because it allowed me to look at my prior training and to see the gaps in my prior training and to understand some of the things that I had missed. Um, so this for me was just what it said: spiritual formation, for spiritual transformation. Thank you.